Once we've logged in, we're going to go over to the left-hand side of the screen. We're going to look for account settings, and we're going to click on notification settings under account settings, and that's going to take us to a page like this. And we're going to see there's two parts to the notification setup. The first part is how we would like to receive notifications, whether that's through desktop, mobile, or email. Again, I would encourage everyone to log in and see if their notifications are set up properly. Another thing to remember here is, actually, I guess one thing to remember here is, not another thing, but one thing to remember is desktop and mobile are linked. So, some people will wonder why they're not getting notifications through our app. It's probably because you don't have desktop checked. So make sure desktop and mobile are checked if we want to get those. Those are connected. So desktop is going to come right here in this little bell icon. That's going to show you your desktop alerts. Mobile, that's going to come as a push notification through our app. Now, if you don't have our app, I strongly encourage you to get our app. And even for people who don't use the app, we do have people that are strictly on the website. So even those people that don't use our app, it's still a great thing to have to get those push notifications. So you're not sitting around your computer all the time on HillTrace. We're realists over here, so we don't hold any grand ideas that you're just watching your HillTrace on your computer. So that mobile is going to come through as a push notification to our phone, and then an email, that's going to just come as an email. Once we've decided how we want to receive notifications, then we move on to where we're going to get notifications for. So there's two parts to this as well. So we can select a city, which is going to give us a notification for anything that we do inside of an 85-mile radius, or we can set up states. We can do all states, we can do Australia and Canada, or we can select individual states. One thing to remember here is there is no need to select a city and a state. That are like if you wanted Birmingham, Alabama, but you also wanted the state of Alabama, you wouldn't need to select both of them. Not going to do anything if you do, but it's not necessary for you to select Alabama, Montgomery, and the state of Alabama. But again, notifications are not limited to your subscription. So if you have a Texas state plan, you are not limited to just Texas notifications. Obviously, we would recommend that you have Texas notifications, but you're not, limited to that. If you have any other questions about notifications, please feel free to let us know. We'd love to make sure that you get those set up. And again, I encourage everybody to jump on and check that out. And if you're not set up, get yourself set up so you're not missing out on anything, because notifications can be key. So that brings us to how notifications work. If you're new to HillTrace or you've never been on HillTrace before, our notifications work a little bit different than the other guys. We don't send out all the reports that come in through the National Weather Service. We do it a little bit different. So there's basically 4 types of notifications that we send out. The first one being that we're live. Send out a notification that we go live, and we go live every day at noon Central Time, where one of our meteorologists or our owner Derek will talk about the previous day's events, what we're thinking is going to happen today and the next few days. So there's a lot of different things that we talk about. We went live today talking about the forecast for the next few days. Frank was on there first time. Shout out to Frank, he did an awesome job. And then shortly after, it started hailing in the Detroit area. And we went live again to talk about that. So when big events happen, we also go live. So there's a live notification that kind of lets you know what's going to be happening and then what has happened. And then the next notification that we do is when we start mapping hail, we'll send out a notification for your area. We map everything 1 inch or greater. So if there's hail falling that's 1 inch or larger, we're going to send out a notification and we're going to map that. So if it's Oklahoma City, for example, and there's 1 inch hail falling, we'll send out a notification that says, we're mapping in Oklahoma City. And with that notification, you can click on that and you can actually watch us map that hail. If you've got an Oklahoma City plan or an Oklahoma plan or a national plan, you can actually watch us map that live. So you can watch it full as it's happening. That is advantageous to you because you know exactly where it's going. But it also saves you from getting your phone blown up with every different report of hail. So worst case scenario, you're going to know that 1 inch hail is falling. Then we take that a step further, and when larger hail starts falling in larger areas of population, we will send out a notification. Oh gosh, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Brian just asked if this will be saved. Yes, Brian, we are going to save this recording. We're going to bring it to you live, or we're going to bring you the recording. We'll send that out. So no worries. You're good. We will send you this recording to your email. Let's see here. What was I saying? Oh, when larger size hail, sorry guys, when larger size hail starts falling in areas with larger populations, we'll send out a notification. There's a few parameters we're looking for on this though. We're looking for 1.75 inches or larger in populations with 10,000 or more, cities with population of 10,000 or more. So, you know, worst case scenario, you're going to get a notification that says we're mapping a hailstorm. But then, you know, to take that a step further, you know, once it starts becoming significant, using Oklahoma City as an example again, it starts hailing in Oklahoma City, you know, golf balls start falling. We're going to send you those texts. So now you know, all right, this is something I should keep my eye on. Whereas before it was just, all right, cool, it's hailing. Let's make sure that we take a look at that. Let's make sure that we're taking a look at that and making sure we're up to date on that. But then once those notifications come in where it says there's actual hail sizes falling, we're going to know that that's a more significant storm. And the more of those that happen, the more significant the storm is going to be. And with those, we also include an intersection. So that kind of lets you know, hey, this is where hail is falling. That's a good reference point. That may be a good place to start the next day. That's just, we're gonna include that as well. So we try to drill down as specific as possible. Then the last type of notification you're going to get is when a hailstorm is complete. So when a hailstorm rolls through and we're done mapping, we're going to send out a notification that says such and such map is available to look at, and that's going to have a link as well. So you can click on that link. It's going to take you right to the map that we've created. So those are the 4 types of notifications that we do. Joe asked, is there notification history? Can I look up storms from like 2 weeks ago? You most certainly can look up storms from 2 weeks ago, and we'll get into how you can do that. As far as a notification history goes, we don't have that per se, where like if you turned on your notifications today, you couldn't go back and look and see what notifications that we have sent out. But you can look at areas and look at a hail history. That is definitely something you can do, and we'll go over that as well. But as far as looking at specific notifications, there's no way to retroactively go back and look at those. Now, you can look at a history if you've had notifications on. So you'll see, like I have these notifications here. I've got a history of them right there. But if you were to turn on your, and I don't know if that's the question you're asking, but if you were to turn on your notifications right now, you wouldn't be able to go and see all the notifications that we've sent out for your area. That brings up a good point. Maybe that's something that we look to push out there. I feel like we can cover it and make it to where you don't need to look at those, because you can go see some stuff in your area, and we'll show you how to search that. Again, if you have other questions about notifications, please feel free to let us know, and we'll answer those. But that's the general basics of how notifications work. And I'll just reiterate to go in and check and make sure all of your notifications are turned on. So with that, we're now going to move over to the maps portion of it. So we're on this second point, or sorry, we're going to go to clients. My apologies, we're not going to maps yet. We're going to talk about clients. So this is the point of the training where we really, try to hammer home the idea of tracking our clients or the people that we've done business with before. If you're not, if you've not input your clients into HailTrace, we strongly feel you could be losing out on potential deals. Some of that low-hanging fruit. The studies show that your close rate with people you've done business with before are astronomically higher with those people than they are with people you've never met. So what that could look like for you is just uploading your clients to HailTrace or entering your clients into HailTrace, and that's something that we can help you with as well. And then when a hailstorm rolls through, you can pull a list of all of your clients that have been impacted by a hailstorm and start contacting those people. The way this looks for most companies and most users is a hailstorm rolls through in an area where they've got 20 former clients or 20 people they've done business with before, and 10 of them are impacted by that hailstorm. They, with a couple clicks on the website, they get a report of those 10 people, just those 10 people that were impacted by that hailstorm. And every piece of information that we've got on them, we get a report on it. And, we can start, reaching out to those people. For some, it's sending out a text, hey, looks like you were impacted by 1.5-inch hail last night. We're going to be doing inspections in the next few days. If you've got an emergency, please call this number, or, let us know if you want to schedule an appointment for us to come take a look at it. We want to help you as quick as possible and get you back to normal life, whether an email, that could be calling. There's a lot of different ways we can reach out, but for most of our clients, that report is huge because, if a storm rolls through at 5 and it's over at 5:15, you can start texting or emailing or calling people, before 5:30, before you leave the office that day, or before you go home for the evening. You can start, reaching out and possibly getting some appointments set. So having a base of our clients in HailTrace that we can pull by hailstorm makes it really, really great, really easy to get some of those return clients. So our client list would look something like this. We're gonna, we put their name and their address and then any information that we want to track on them, and then HailTrace will geocode that address, and then it'll plot it up on the map, and then it'll even tell you the last date that they were impacted by hail. So this particular address here was impacted on August 22nd of 2017. So very quickly you can see which of your clients were most recently impacted. So if we were to, filter this out, we could see that, we've got a few that were impacted on July 21st, just a few days ago, or June 27th. We can see all of those. So, we can't overstate how important it is to get those clients in there and track those. And if you're not, we strongly encourage you to do that. And if you need help with that, let us know and we'll get them in there. So if you're looking to upload, we can do that very quickly. All we need is an Excel spreadsheet with a list of our clients, and then we're going to come over to the left-hand side of the screen. Let's do that again. We're going to come to the left-hand side of the screen. We're going to click Clients, and we're going to hit Upload. If that's not available for you to see, give us a call, 855-334-4245. We want to get you set up with the ability to track clients. Once we get to the Upload page, we're going to select a file and we're going to upload. And the file needs to look like this. The first 8 columns of this file need to be listed out exactly like they're listed here. So we need first name, last name, phone, address, city, state, zip. You need all of that. And once we have that, it's going to upload and it's going to do what we need it to do, which is great. And it'll start to track our clients. Then we can start doing some really cool stuff with it. So that's one way to get them in there. The other way is to actually create a client. And to create a client, there's a couple ways we can do that. We can add a client, just clicking this button. We can add a client. We can start to enter all of their information like that. Or we can come over to the map, and that kind of brings us to the segue. This will take us into the maps. We come over and hit Client, and then we hit Map, and it's going to take us to a screen of our map of the United States. And let me get some of this stuff off so we're not kicking back. So when our clients are in there and they're geocoded, we're going to see little icons that look like houses. If we click on those, we're going to see all the information that we have on that. And then it's also going to give us a list of storms that have impacted that client's specific address. Pretty neat stuff, pretty quick, easy way to look at a hail history for a client. But if we want to enter a client, we can enter their address, or we can just say we're out and we're just, walking around. We just click on an address and we can create a lead or create a client. And then from here, we're going to get that same form. Pretty simple stuff. So this is going to segue into how to pull up maps. So on the map page, to pull up a map, all we're going to have to do is left click anywhere on the map, and it's going to give us some address details. If you have prospect data, sometimes it'll give you or I should say a lot of times, it'll give you the name and all that information on there. Excuse me. It'll give you like some, the name, phone number, contact information, that kind of stuff, what the purchase value, square footage of the house, things like that. If you don't have prospect data, again, feel free to give us a call, 855-334-4245, 4245, and we'll get you squared away. But when you left click on an address, it's going to give us the details on the right over here, and then it's going to give us a list of maps that have impacted this specific address. And this list of maps is it's really, it's like a 10-foot radius around this address. So it's really site specific. So what this allows you to do is look up a really quick hail history of a specific address. So if we're talking about 2001 Northeast 100th Street in Oklahoma City, we're going to see, 2014 all the way back to 2009 have been impacted a few times by some hail since 2009. The most recent one being 2014 at that specific location. Now, if we see the map that we want to look at, we can click View, or we can scroll down and click on this Nearby Maps button. And then that's going to do is it's going to give us a little radius search option. It's going to throw a circle up there, and we can adjust that circle by clicking and dragging on these white dots around the outside of the circle. And so what we can do is we can expand or contract that circle. And what we're doing now is telling HailTrace that we want to see every map that has a swath that comes within this circle. So if we're going to do that, we just, get it to where we want. And then once we've specified our search radius, we come back to the right-hand side of the screen and we click this green search button. And that's going to bring up a list of, excuse me, it's going to bring up a list of maps, starting with the most recent in the area that we searched. So a couple things that are happening here. We've got the names of the maps available. We've got the star level of the maps. Our maps are all rated from a 1 to a 5 star. We always give the example, or I should say I always give the example. 1 star is going to be, quarter-sized hail falling in the middle of nowhere, South Dakota. 5-star map, that's going to be 10 spots falling in the Dallas metro or falling in the Chicago metro. A lot of it is hail size and city in population. Those are two main factors that go into that, but they rate those on a storm by storm basis. And then underneath that, you'll see the areas that this particular event impacted. And then you'll see some storm-specific details. It'll give you the date, it'll give you the hail duration, it'll give you the number of houses, and then it'll also give you the max size hail. Key information that we want to know when we're looking at these storms. You'll notice a difference between these two maps. This is a 2-star and this is a 3-star. You'll see that the hail size is different or is bigger in this 3-star than it is in this 2-star. Kind of just an indication of it was just a more impactful storm as far as size and population of the area. If we want to look at a storm, we just click Visible. And we can look at as many of these as we want. We can overlay maps, and that'll come into play when we talk about finding honey holes. So we just click on the maps that we want to see. And then once we've done that, we just click anywhere off the screen, and it's going to take us back to the map with the storms that we have downloaded. Now this box over here on the right, sometimes that can get in the way. So we just want to collapse that. We just scroll up to the top and hit collapse, and it's going to take it take it away. Let's see here. Now we're looking at a few different swaths. If you'll notice in the top right-hand corner, we've got a little hail legend. All of our maps are color coordinated by hail size, so that is always available to you in the website. This little hail legend. You can see, yellow means quarter to half dollar, or we can toggle to inches range, and yellow means 1 inch to 1.25 inch. And so that goes all the way up to this blue that's tennis ball or bigger, or 2.5 inches or larger. When we've got all these maps loaded on the screen, unless you look at these all the time, you're probably going to have a little bit of difficulty differentiating between the 3 maps that we have downloaded. A couple of things that we can do there to know which swath is from what date. We can come over here to the right-hand side of the screen where all of our maps are listed out that we've downloaded. We can hide by clicking these green eye buttons, and now we're left with just this one map from August 22nd. And now we know that these few swaths are from that August 22nd date. And then we can move on and do that with the other storms that we have from October 21st, and then we're looking at June 7th in the Oklahoma City metro area. We can also look at all 3 of them and then just right-click on the swath. So if we're looking at, we were wondering where this swath happened or when it was, we just right-click on that, and it's going to give us some swath-specific details, like the number of houses for just this area that we clicked on, the max size hail for that area. So we see that it was 1 inch isolated hail, and it hailed for 3 minutes, and the wind was blowing at 40 miles an hour. And then that prospect data piece that we were talking about earlier, that comes back into play here too. When we look at swath-specific details, we can get an estimated number of contacts available. So if we do have that prospect data where we can click on a house and get homeowner information, we can also download full lists of that based on a swath by clicking this blue impacted contacts button. And what it's going to do is it's going to give us an email with a link for an Excel spreadsheet that gives us the name, the address, landline, cell phone, email if those are available, home value, and hail size. Now, keep in mind that this list has not been scrubbed against the do not call list, so when you click on this blue button, it's going to ask you to agree and click on this disclaimer saying that you understand that this list that you're about to download has not been scrubbed against the do not call list. So obviously our best advice is if we want to use this as a calling list to scrub it against a do not call. But there's a lot of things you can do with that list. You can use it as a mailing list, and a lot of people like to send out postcards right after an area is impacted by hail. You can use that as a calling list. Text, email, I know that there's some different regulations as far as those go. But that information is in there, and there's a lot of different ways you can use this list to be creative and reach out to the people in that list. On top of the client list that you download after a hailstorm is over. So once you agree to that, you're going to get that email, and once there, you can just use it as an Excel spreadsheet, and you have that file. Let's see here. So when we're talking about hail maps, obviously, when a big hailstorm rolls through a city, everybody goes to, the big parts of the hailstorm. But right now, we're going to talk about a little strategy that we like to teach people, and a lot of our clients are employing to really extend their business from, a 3-month business to a 10 to 12-month business. Now, obviously, in the northern part of the United States and in Colorado and areas like that, it's different than it is here in Arkansas and Oklahoma and Texas. So putting on roofs in December, isn't really a feasible thing in some areas. But what I'm going to show you right now is the ability to go find potentially older hail damage using a new hail data. And we've got an example right here in our very own state. And what we're going to do now is we're going to show you how that works. So we had a little hailstorm on August 22nd of last year. If we right-click on this swath, it's going to give us some details. So it impacted about 10,000 homes. The max hail size was $half isolated hail, so it wasn't dropping big hail by any means. It hailed for 6 minutes, and the wind was blowing northwest at 60 miles an hour. Now, most people that saw that storm come through, if they even knew about it, most contractors just looked at it and didn't give it a second thought. It's August. Most people have, started to shut down for the year. They look for other avenues of bringing in, sources of income. But we have a client here right in Oklahoma City that was able to use this new hail date to get a bunch of roof spots. And in the month of November alone, he put up 60 roofs using this new hail date. We think that's a pretty cool story. And the way he did that was he took this hailstorm and then he just did a little search. And that same radius search that we did earlier worked the same way here. He just clicked randomly. We just randomly click. This is how the honey hole finder works. We just randomly click inside of a newer hail date and we do a nearby search. But instead of doing a broad search, we're going to bring this in to only include the swath. So we're only looking for hail maps that have a swath that comes within this swath that we have specified. So we're going to hit search, and then it's going to give us some other hail events. And so the ones that we're going to look at specifically right now are from 2013 and from 2012. So you can see here, these are two pretty impactful storms. They were both 5-star maps in the Oklahoma City metro. And so once we've clicked those, we're just going to click off here, and we're going to see what this looks like. Again, this little box on the right-hand side of the screen, we can just click collapse to get rid of that. So we're going to hide a couple of these maps. We're going to start with this August 22nd storm. So if we're looking at this August 22nd storm, like I said, not a lot of activity as far as other roofing contractors. That most people just didn't even bat an eyelash at this. But if we look at this, and we look at insurance claim numbers around the nation, we know that only 40 to 50% of roofs are replaced after a hailstorm. I was really astonished at that number, because I would have assumed it's so much higher than that. You look at places like Dallas where you get a good hailstorm every year. I would think that everybody's getting a new roof. It's like Oprah down there. You get a roof, everybody gets a roof. But that's not the case. Even in Dallas, only 40 to 50% of roofs are replaced. And that's nationwide. And that's based on insurance claim numbers. So what that tells us is 50 to 60% of roofs are out there to be replaced after a hailstorm. So for whatever reason, a roof isn't replaced. So that those numbers tell us that there are even right now, there are more roofs out there to be replaced than there are roofing contractors that can replace them. Using this little technology, this little strategy, we can extend our business to potentially a 365-day a year. We've got a couple of clients here in Oklahoma City that are just killing it out there. We haven't had a significant hailstorm since 2015. We've got a couple of clients that are utilizing this, and they are growing. They're actually hiring people. We had one of them hired 20 people last month because they're just finding so much stuff out there. So we don't need a huge fresh hailstorm to generate business. Obviously, we love those, and those are great, but we don't have to be tied to that. We don't have to be held captive to needing a new hailstorm. We can go find those little one-off storms, those little storms that mean nothing to most people, and go find other stuff. So if we look at this 2012 hailstorm, we see that it went over this little area. In some cases, they were getting impacted by 2.5-inch hail. And then if we overlay this 2013 hailstorm, we've got like this area right here was impacted with 2.5-inch hail, and then some 2-inch hail. So there's a lot of houses down here. If we zoom in and look at this area specifically, these are pretty decent sized neighborhoods. So there's a lot of houses in there. And so what our client was able to find was so many houses that weren't replaced in 2012 or 2013, and he's able to use this new hail date, or this August 22nd as a new hail date. And people are using that all over the place. And so what that does is it makes those little 1-star storms extremely valuable. So we can go own whole neighborhoods. This particular client didn't have any competition in these neighborhoods he was in, because nobody was out there doing anything. He was the only one willing to go out there and do a little bit of digging and get creative with it. So that's the main point is get creative. Go look at those little one-star maps that you might think, oh, that probably didn't do anything. And that might be the case. Like this hailstorm probably didn't do any damage. But it gave us a new hail date to work with. And now we're popping off 60 roofs in the month of November, which is a pretty cool stat. So hopefully now you guys, this works in any city, any area of the country. You pull up those one-star maps of those little storms. It even works for those bigger 5-star maps. You know, everybody goes to the epicenter where the biggest hail fell, but we can look at some of those areas on the periphery of the storm, those little, you know, where the smaller size hail is falling. We can start, you know, owning neighborhoods there, even on the outskirts of the storm, where most people might not get to for a while, where everybody goes to that epicenter. We're gonna start working on the outside and start owning neighborhoods in there. I mean, how many times have you gone to an area where, you know, you're the 10th person to knock on somebody's door? If we utilize this strategy, we can set ourselves up to own neighborhoods and have less competition. I mean, that's not to say that those areas where the biggest hail fell is not a good place to go, because obviously low-hanging fruit, if you can get somebody, you know, if somebody's pelted with 4-inch hail, you know, that's a huge thing, and obviously we want to get those, but we can also look for this other stuff and use these storms as new hail days. I hope that makes sense. Joe just asked a question. Hold on, Joe, I'm going to read this real quick. Correct. So if you click on let's look at it. If we click on an area, it's going to bring up a history of that specific address. So you're partially 100% accurate. Anywhere we click, it's going to bring up a hail history of that specific location. If we want to do a history of an area, we would just want to click this nearby maps. And let's say we wanted to look at this, you know, just this specific area. We wanted to look at a hail history of that. We'd do a nearby map search. We'd adjust our radius, and then we'd hit search. And so this list of maps is all the maps that we've created that come within this circle. And that's going to go all the way back to 2009. So yeah, with just a couple of clicks, you can look at a hail history for an entire neighborhood, an entire metro. Yeah, that's absolutely correct. We can look at a hail history with just a couple of clicks. But for just the one click, that's going to give us the hail history for that specific address. And then we can make it broader by doing that nearby map search. Great question. Hopefully you guys can take this out and go find stuff in your area. And go make that money. Hot springs, that'd be a great place to go look. Let's go back to the big board, see what we're going to talk about next. We talked about finding maps, we talked about overlaying maps, we talked about finding honey holes. The main thing with overlaying maps is if we look at a map just as a one-off incident, like we're looking at that August 22nd hailstorm, if we look at maps as just a one incident thing, then a lot of times we get sucked into the stats of that map. Well, that map probably didn't do anything. But if we look at it as a whole picture and we look at it as a longer story, that's when we can really get into making some money and really setting ourselves up for a super successful year, even in what's quote unquote the off season or a non-storm environment. In places like Oklahoma, we would definitely consider Oklahoma to be in a non-storm environment, even throughout this year. Even through this spring, we haven't had a lot of activity, but we've still got people that are just crushing it. So let's talk about prospect data. I briefly touched on that a little bit, but if you've got the prospect data, it's going to allow you to download whole lists based on swath activity. So for this specific one, if we were to right-click on this specific swath, we could download a list of over 17,000 contacts to use as a mailing list, calling list, and several other things that we could do. And again, we would just right-click, scroll down and hit this blue impacted contacts button, and it's going to email us an Excel spreadsheet, and then we can go. We've got a client in Stillwater, Oklahoma that he downloads lists, and he doesn't even look at them. He has a postcard ready to go, and he sends that list to his mailing company and says, hey, I want to I want to send out a postcard to this set of people. Let's do it. So, with very quickly, we can get some stuff going and start, contacting some of these people. The other side of that data is the ability to click on individual houses. So if we were to, scroll down into a neighborhood and just look at a street view, all we would have to do is click on any house and we potentially get contact information. So that includes the name, the phone number, email, if that's available, the purchase amount if that's available, the square footage. And so we can start to get some of that key information. And so what that does for you is if you're out canvassing a neighborhood, walking a neighborhood, knocking on doors, you walk up to a house and we see that somebody lives there. Let's go back to Dorothy. We see that somebody lives there. And when we knock on that door, when we have that information and we lead with that information, that's going to break down those barriers. Every time we have an interaction with somebody, if it's somebody we've never met before, we've got to break down a few barriers like name. That's the biggest one. If you get over that hump, once you're there and once you're on a personal level with somebody, then it becomes much smoother. So just having that name information, you knock on the door, are you Mrs. Hill? That is going to knock down those barriers and make it so much easier for her to relate to you. So having that stuff in your back pocket is going to help with that. It's also going to tell that person that you're talking with that you value them enough to go at least do some research to see who lives there. Even if it is just one click, you have at least been active enough to go look for that information and get that, know who lives there. So that is available as well. So if we click on individual houses, it's going to give us that potential information. And if you click on that on a specific address and they are on the do not call list, it will tell you that they are on the do not call list. The only thing to remember with the do not call list is that it doesn't scrub for those big lists that we pull. Other than that, if they are in there and we click on them individually, it's going to tell us that with that big red do not call right there. And like I said earlier, if you have prospect data, this is a great tool. This is a great feature to have. If you don't have it and you're interested in it, again, our number is 855-334-4245. Give us a call. We'd love to get you set up or show you a little bit more in-depth demo of how that works. And I'll put this right here. Just type our number again, 855-334-4245. That's our main office number. Somebody can help you out. But if you have questions, feel free to let us know. We'd love to share that information with you. Moving on, canvassing. A couple of you said you were interested in canvassing. We do have a canvassing tool inside of Hailtrace. The great thing about that is we can overlay our maps and go canvass areas that have been impacted by hail. We can start dropping pins to signify things like different. We have a shingle type that we're looking at. Let's say somebody's got 3-tab shingles on their roof. We can drop a pin that says they have a 3-tab shingle. If we are driving in a neighborhood and we see a bunch of houses that we can tell from the street that they're damaged, we can drop pins that say damaged on that house. If we knock on a door and nobody's home, we can drop a pin that says not home. So letting our team know that, hey, we need to go back there and follow up. Let's say we knock on a door that's already under a competitor's contract. We can mark that. We can drop a pin that says that to help us be more efficient. So we know if there's 3 competitor contract pins in a row, we're going to skip those 3 houses because we want to be efficient. We don't want to waste time. It's going to help us do that. We can also track all of this. If we got a team of five guys dropping pins, we can see who's dropped the most pins and where. And that opens up, the incentive competition. Hey guys, I want you out there dropping pins. Let's see who can drop the most pins this week, and then let's see who can turn the most pins into customers. So that's a really cool thing to be able to do. So we'll talk about that real quick, and I'll show you what that looks like. So inside the website, we're going to go over to, if we're in the map, there's 3 little tabs at the bottom. we're just going to click on the canvassing tab, and that's going to open up the canvassing feature. If we're not in the maps, we're going to come to the left-hand side of the screen, and we're just going to hit canvassing. We're going to hit map. It's going to bring us to the same area. So from here, what this does is when we click on a specific house, it's going to bring up our canvassing options. And we set those up. So these are fully customizable. So there's none preloaded. We just have to go make those for you. To do that, we just click on the settings gear, and we add a new marker type. We name the marker type, and select the pin we want to specify that marker, and then we hit save, and then we're ready to go. But when we click on a specific house, we're going to have all these options, and you see we've got a not interested, an under competitor contract, we've got a renter pin. That's just going to that's going to let us know, hey, this is a renter. Not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily mean we can't do the roof, but there's probably a little more red tape we need to go through because that renter is probably not the decision maker. We've got pins that say away damage. That person wasn't home, but we can see that there's damage. We were just standing in the driveway, clearly see that the roof was damaged or some siding was damaged. We can drop a pin that says that. So when we click on a house, we can easily drop a pin. We just click on the marker we want to drop. We can enter that name, or we can enter a note. I mean, let's say maybe they have a dog. We can signify that they have a dog. So any one of our team members that goes back out and clicks on that pin is going to know that this person has a dog. They were barking at me the entire time I was there. We hit create, and it drops that pin. We move on to the next house. Maybe it's damaged. We create that marker. It's going to drop that pin. Maybe we come up on a house and it's a discontinued shingle, and we work in a matching state where we just need we need one hit, and that roof is good. That shingle is discontinued, so they're getting a whole roof replacement. We've actually got a guy in Georgia who I want to say Athens. I can't remember where in Georgia, but in January. Mid-January, early February, he just drove around and looked for all the houses that he could see that he knew the shingle was discontinued. I mean, he dropped a bunch of pins. And once the first hailstorm that came through that area, he was able to take those pins, and he told his guys, "All right, hey guys, we've got a bunch of these discontinued shingles out there. Let's go do some work." And so they were able to, make a ton of money in the month of February, early March, just based on that discontinued shingle. So you can do markers like that. Some of our clients use a 3-tab or a wood shake shingle. They want to signify that. So canvassing can be used all year. Obviously after a hailstorm we can use it to track where our guys go, but we can also use it like in January, February. Like, let's drive around and just look. Let's see what's out there. It becomes a long play game. And in August and October, we're setting ourselves up for the next year. We go out and we start canvassing these places. And so when hailstorms come through the next year, we've already got a data set and a list of pins that we've dropped, and now we know exactly where we want to go. So pretty simple. We can also do a report on our canvassing pins that are dropped. So like I said, if we've got 5 guys that are out canvassing, we can look at a report and see how many pins have been dropped by each particular person. And it's going to be available right here. You get the number of pins they've dropped of each type of pin, and then you get a total number of pins. So obviously I'm leading by example here. 88 pins dropped, and nobody else has dropped any pins. We can have a conversation with all these people and say, hey, what's going on? Why are we not dropping pins? But then we can also, on the map, we can filter by pin or user. So if we wanted to see all of our under competitor contract pins, we can filter just by that. And we can now see just the pins that we've dropped that are under competitor contract. So we see here in this neighborhood, we've got 6. And so we can skip those. When we're going through, we can skip that. We can also filter by user. We can see if we want to know how many pins Mary's dropped, we can do that. We can see how many she's dropped. And then we can adjust accordingly. If our goal is to have every canvasser drop 500 pins a week, then obviously, she's got 21. she's kind of been lollygagging over here. We need to maybe have a conversation about that. So it's going to help us track what's going on with our company and all our guys that are out canvassing. That's a pretty cool feature. Again, if you have questions about canvassing, we'd love to have a more in-depth conversation with you about how canvassing works and what it can bring to your business and how it can make you more successful. And again, we can canvas with a map or without a map. So that brings us to our app. Like I said at the beginning, if you haven't downloaded our app, I should encourage you to do that. And right now, I'm going to show you a little bit of how that works, what it looks like to pull up maps, and then to pull up contact information and your drop canvassing pins. So bear with me while I share this screen with you, and we'll show you how this thing works. Okay. All right. Hopefully you guys can see that. If you can't see that, please let me know so we can make adjustments. We are going to log in. When we're on the app, to log in, if you have an iPhone, it allows you to use the Touch ID to get in there, which is a pretty cool little feature. So it's going to work the same on an Android as it is on an iPhone. Looks a little bit different cosmetically, but they're the same app. And if you don't have them, it's available in the iTunes App Store, Trace, Google Play Store, same thing. So let's get rid of these maps and let's start from scratch and show you guys how this works. So let's just go to Hot Springs, Arkansas, since we've got somebody from Hot Springs. Let's see if we can find something in Hot Springs. So in the app, currently, the way to pull up maps, and we're going to release a new app that's going to allow us to do a radius search. In the current app, we can't do a radius search. It's just spot specific. So to pull up maps, we're going to hold our finger down, and it's going to drop a temporary pin. So when we drop a temporary pin, it looks like that. It's a little red pin. And then when we hold our finger down, it's going to give us a list of maps. It's going to pop out from the right. It's going to give us a list of maps just for this specific location. So we see here in August 1st, 2015, there was a hail map. To view that, we just hit it. And we get a blue check mark. It loads in our downloaded maps. And then we can just hit this X, and it's going to show us this map. So back in 2015, this is what was happening in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Joe, I don't know how long you've been in Hot Springs, but this might be familiar to you. If we click or hold our finger down on a different place, it's going to give us different options. The thing to remember here is it's spot specific. So when we hold our finger down, it's going to give us different options. So we can look at that. We can look at all these different storms. We can overlay them on top of each other. We can look at as many storms as we want in the app. Pretty easy way to pull up maps. On the iPhone, it's just a couple of tips, I guess, just from feedback that we've gotten. On the Apple version in the iPhone, doesn't matter how hard you hold your finger down, but we do want a long press. We call it the long press. To get a temporary pin or to get a location, we want to hold our finger or thumb down on it. In the Android, if you hold down too hard, it doesn't read it. But we do want a long touch, and that long touch is going to bring us that temporary pin. Now, if you'll notice at the top of the screen, we've got two buttons. One says Maps and one says Contacts. When that Maps button is highlighted, the way we're interacting with Trace is with map information. So any touch that we have on the screen is going to pull up map information. And on the other side of that, Contacts, that's going to be where we get the residential data. When we hold our finger down, it's going to give us address details. So while we've got these maps pulled up, we can also look at swath-specific or storm-specific details here as well, just by tapping on one of those colors. And whatever color we tap on, it's going to give us that swath details at the top. And so I tapped on that red. It's telling us that the max hail size for that specific area is 2.5 inches. Hailed for 5 minutes. Wind was blowing 65 miles an hour, and there's about 30 houses that were hitting that. And then all the other subsequent swaths are going to be listed there as well. Those are all the swaths for that entire storm. from April 19th, 2015. But if we just tap on one of those colors, that information for that specific swath is going to be at the top. Now, moving over to contacts, if we click that contacts button, it's going to change how our touch interacts with the app. So if we were to hold our finger down now, we're going to get address-specific details. And so this pin that I just dropped was at 314 Wilson Road. We see that Sarah is the associated contact with that address, and it's got her email available there. So also you'll see that there are some pin options. So these are my my canvassing pin options that I have. So I can just tap on one and hit create, and it's going to drop that canvassing pin. And so when we tap on that canvassing pin, it's going to tell us some details about that. It's going to tell us the name of the pin that I dropped. It's going to tell me who dropped it. It's going to timestamp it. It's even going to tell me if I was in the vicinity. So you'll see that red that says not verified. That just means I'm more than 500 feet away. So to get a verified pin, we just have to be within 500 feet of that specific address. We can knock on that door, and it's going to tell us that, oh, hey, we've been out there once, we've been out there twice. But then we can also create a client from this page. And when we create a client inside the app, it's going to auto-populate the relevant information that's available. So it brought in her name, her email. It's also going to bring in her address information. And then if we save that client, it's going to give us, sorry guys, it's going to save that as a client now. And so now I've got a client in that area that I can go look at. This is how you would do your canvassing in there. Again, holding our finger down is going to drop maybe it's going to drop a little pin. No name information there, but we can canvas or we can create a client if we've got that. I'm gonna just give you guys a couple minutes to ask questions. If you have questions, I'm gonna give you a couple minutes to type those out, and I'll answer those to the best of my knowledge. Thanks for sticking with me. I'm gonna just pause here and be quiet for a couple minutes, let you guys tap questions. If you don't have questions, let me know that as well, so we can jump off here and start converting this to a video and get you guys that information. Oh, awesome. Thanks for the feedback. Yeah, definitely gives you a starting point. But one thing we really want to stress is we're available to help. One thing that we pride ourselves in is the ability to call in and talk to live people. So give us a call. We'd love to help you out. We've got 3 meteorologists that map all of our storms. If you have questions about a storm, they're available to talk. We pride ourselves on our customer service and delivering the best customer service that we possibly can. So if you have questions, please give us a call. One thing that I need to put into my little notes that we didn't talk about is the ability for us to do forensic reports. This will be my last thing that I talk about. Let's see here. Oh, awesome. Thank you, John. I'm glad we were able to answer some questions. Before I talk about our reports, let me read this question. Services need a subscription. Where is price options? So price options are, let me see if I can pull that out. Price options are available online. You can look at that. But I feel like the best way to get that information is just to give us a call and talk to one of our guys and let them answer those questions and really look at a tailored service of what you would need. So I'll give you a brief overview. We can do city, we can do state, or we can do a nation subscription. Those include maps, and that includes every map that we make for a year, plus all of our archive maps for that area. So if you have a city subscription, that's an 85-mile radius around a city. That's going to give you every map for that city moving forward for a year, plus every map that we've ever made. And so that gives you the ability to find those honey holes and do those storm overlays. We're using new hail dates to find or to replace old damage. And then the prospect data is another piece where we can click on houses and download lists of information of people. And that is also for a year, moving forward for a year. And then canvassing, that's going to be a piece where that's a cost per user per month. So any canvassing user that we add is $20 a month per user. But I would encourage you to give us a call and talk to one of our reps and let them give you some more information. They will be more than happy to talk you through. We are not a one size fits all, so we would want to make sure that we're talking you through what you would actually need. But that's a great question. So another thing that is included in any map subscription, regardless of whether or not you have data, prospect data, or canvassing, if you have maps, you have included the ability to get forensic hail reports. And outside of a subscription, those are $50 a piece, but if you have a subscription, those are just included. And so what we do is we can do a forensic report for an address. So let's say you've got an address, so you're getting some pushback from an insurance company, and we need to prove that it hailed at a specific address. You give us that address and give us a couple of parameters, and we'll go put together a forensic report based on scientific data and based on an analysis by a degreed meteorologist who is an expert in that field, and we give you a report that proves it hailed. Now, knock on wood, we've never had to do this, but we back those all the way to court. That's how much we value their analysis of these reports, is that we'll back them all the way to court if need be. So those are also available to you with a subscription. And those can be very valuable things. One more story. We love telling stories if you haven't gotten that yet. We've got a client in Arkansas. Actually, I think they're based out of Tulsa, but they had a client in Arkansas. It was a commercial property. Roof was totaled. Engineer from the insurance company came out, verified that the roof was totaled, but the date that they had was from 2012. So it was outside of the date range. It was outside of the scope. It was not covered. It got denied. They gave us a call, asked us to do a report for them, and we found that it had hail in October of last year. So that went from a denied claim to a pretty substantial commercial claim that was it was a multi-million-dollar project for them. So it can be the difference between a denial and an approval in some cases. So worst case scenario, we can take a look for you and see if we can figure that out. We always give the disclaimer: we can't fabricate hail, but if there's hail there, we will find it and we'll put together a report that proves it. Again, thanks for sticking with me. Thanks for giving up time in your valuable day to come do training with us and see how Hail Trace works. And again, if this is your first time, I strongly encourage you to, one, get those notifications set up. That doesn't cost a thing to know what's going on in your area. And then two, if you're wanting to take a step further and get more into depth on what exactly this can do for you in a more one-on-one basis and see how we could tailor it to help you go be successful and help you make money, I encourage you to give us a call at 855-334-4245. Again, that's 855-334-4245. Guys, thanks. I'll send this out to you as soon as it's done, and I'm going to sign off here. Again, thanks. Have a great day.